City of Toledo Planning Commission. Tracy, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Highly attended meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody is present, so we have a quorum. At this time, call for any other business items.
Chair Birch, I'd ask that you move up our discussion of the habitat portion to the beginning of our meeting if you can. Well, as soon as we get into it, so that way Carrie can talk on the items that she's most familiar with, and then we can let her drop off.
I don't see
We
anything.
don't have habitat on here.
It's part of the packet. I mean,
I don't see anything that's in the way of us going straight.
Yeah,
from
it's the
approval of
wetlands.
The consent agenda.
it's the Wetland and Land Development Code.
Okay.
So it's the Land Development Code, a portion of it.
Do we need a motion to do that?
Well, considering it's next after our consent agenda, I'm not sure why.
It's just that one specific element. I'm not sure how much more.
Would be happy to. Okay, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda
So moved.
in a second?
Second.
Discussion, anybody have any problem with the new licenses?
I had a question about the food service one. Do they, this is more, I guess, my curiosity, do they have to submit additional documentation for serving food and stuff like that?
What's the-
The Lee's, something, is it? Jen's Place.
Yep, so they go through the Department of Health. They've already turned everything in and I have to sign off on it.
Okay,
So we just make sure that they have everything that they need and then they get approved through the Department of Health.
very cool.
I've had these folks come by, they're from Vancouver and stuff, and they're wanting to do roofing and windows and everything.
Right, they have to have a business license in the city to do that.
So that's what I wanted to, need to ask them if they actually have a license.
Right.
I've been approached by several.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna hustle around town.
You could always just send them the name of the company too, and then we can go at it that way if you want.
They gave me a card, but then they took it back with, there's no, I didn't want the word to.
Wow, they took the card back.
Yeah, it's like, I only got a few.
Red flag there.
Yeah.
Where exactly is 401 Cowlitz? Is that the Joe Notch building?
Yes.
There you go. What did she sell? What's she gonna sell?
Yogurt.
Huh?
Frozen yogurt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right, I heard that. Okay, the yogurt, that'd be great. And then Hillstead Farm, the last one on the list, is a new grower that's coming to the Toledo Thursday Market.
That's great.
Any other questions? Can I get a vote? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving right along. Shall we tackle what you'd like to tackle, Todd?
Yes, thank you, Chair Birch. Carrie had made the updates to the wetlands section based on your comments last time, and also we had shared that draft with ecology, and ecology provided comments. And I think it'd be best to ask Carrie to go through some of the explanations. This is in a separate document. It's included as the wetlands section within the Land Development Code, but it's also included as a separate document for wetlands. So, and that one has the ecology comments in there. And then also Carrie's responses. Carrie, I don't know if you want to take it from here.
Sure. You want me to share my screen so you can see where I'm at, or how do I don't remember how I usually do that.
When you access.
I didn't hear that.
She's going to give you access to allow you to share your screen.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, we should be able to now.
So this shouldn't take too long. There wasn't a huge amount of comments, but there were a few that I felt like would be good for me to kind of explain why I responded the way I did.
Oh,
Um,
Carrie, is it okay to mention the number? Because we can't actually read it. It's not legible for us
oh, okay.
unless
Is
my
it too small? Um, can you see it now?
No.
No.
a little bigger. Wow. My eyes are terrible. All right. It is just, it's just so far away. I think that's all it is. So,
Oh, yeah. So the first number is 1738,250.
okay.
And there was some confusion on their part because they didn't get the whole LDC, so they didn't get the whole. So in the wetland section is a standalone, but then there are some administrative items that are in the CAO, general CAO part. So they didn't have access to that. So some of the comments here are basically asking for things to be included here, which we had already included in that general section. So this one, I just basically said it's in that other section, so that shouldn't be a problem. The next one that I had some pretty big concerns about was the table one land and use intensity table. And what she was requesting was that we took out the low intensity residential land use completely. So there would not be any residential use allowed as low intensity. And then change the moderate um, to 1 acre or less, which you would lose that whole, what the way we had written it was 1 unit per acre, the density between 1 unit per acre and 1 unit per 4.99 acres. So that would be a pretty big change. And I think I said when we were looking at it kind of briefly before that I felt like other ordinances had that statement, and I did check, and Clark County's CAO has it written exactly the way that we have it. So I would suggest we just leave it as is. Um, because it's more of it's a recommendation on her end, and I think that it would be disadvantageous to a disadvantage to the city to make that change.
So Carrie, we do have in the high, it's greater than, we just don't have anything in the low, is that correct? So we don't have any low density or low impact. It says density lower than 1 unit per 5 acres is low impact. So less than 1 unit per acre is high, between 1 and 4.99 is moderate, and then 1 to 5. And then
1 unit per 5.
yeah, 1 unit per 5 is low or greater. So,
Mhm.
and what she was saying that she didn't like it in the low intensity at all, and then she wanted the moderate to be
She being the
the commenter from
Ecology.
commenter. Okay.
yeah, it's Emily Atkins.
But it seems to me that somebody with a property that's larger than 5 acres it's not gonna have a moderate land use. They're gonna be restricted to a certain area. Everything else is gonna be just managed.
Yeah, this is about characterizing the use. It still has to follow the wetlands regulations. It's just characterizing it as what level of impact it is, and that sets, how big the buffers are and what you're allowed to do. So,
Well, right, and the low land use intensity, doesn't that give us an advantage as far as buffers are concerned?
it yeah, the lower the intensity of the use, the less buffering required. Is that right, Carrie?
Yeah, right. If you look at the chart, the way that it,
Yeah,
Right. So I think I would agree with our consultants that we ought to leave it back in low use, low intensity,
leave it the way it is.
and cite the Clark County approval as backup for our position.
great.
Anybody else have a this?
I agree with that.
Yeah. Obviously, we gotta then take the wheel.
The next one is right below the table. It's 1738 270. There was it was in Lewis County's code. We took it out. It's something that if it's in there would, I think, be a pretty big hardship to anyone that wanted to develop. It's basically saying you can use the buffer widths in the tables, but they're assuming that that entire buffer width would be vegetated with native plants. So that would be like, so if let's say your buffer was just grass, they're saying in order to have that buffer, the entire buffer needs to be vegetated. So if it isn't, then you would have to plant it. Or if you didn't plant it, you would have to widen it. And so we just felt like that was too restrictive. And that would cause quite a bit of cost if you didn't have, and I mean, they're saying native too. So even if you had a vegetated buffer, but it wasn't native plants, then you would have to, I would assume, just replace them with native species, which would also be fairly expensive. So part of it is she's saying you might consider adding. So to me, that is, you might consider, but we do have some latitude on that. And I would not suggest putting this in. And both Francis and I read this and were like, no, you do not want that in there.
Just for the point, for the sake of clarity, I think it does say that if the current vegetated state is not invasive species, I would think that's plants that have been categorized as invasive. So they could not be natives, but maybe they're not invasive plants. Or do you see that as it's either native or invasive in the
I
comments?
think that, I think
Let's see.
unvegetated, sparsely vegetated, or vegetated with invasive species that do not perform.
So it says if the existing buffer is unvegetated, sparsely vegetated, or vegetated with invasive species.
Right.
So those are the categories. So if it's vegetated, but not with native species, that wouldn't be one of the categories that she's.
Right, so you could have it vegetated with non-natives that are not invasive and that perform the required function, and that would be okay.
That would be okay.
Okay.
But I think we're leaving this out because we had this long discussion on what the possible ramifications could be to a property owner who has a long buffer and then would be required to go to the expense of planting the entire thing. And we decided to leave that comment out intentionally, and I think that's what you're saying you would prefer to do now, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And we did have a long discussion on that.
Yeah, and I don't want to delay the vote here. I agree with the discussion that we had, and I just wanted to sort of clarify that part seemed.
Although we do have two new planning.
Yes,
commissioners
I do
for that
believe
discussion.
when they say do not perform needed functions, I don't know whether if it was not native in the function, or you would probably have to make some argument that the non-native species were providing the same functions as a native community,
Right.
which it would be a little hard to do. Because I haven't ever seen ecology ever let us use anything but native species.
Gotcha.
So another reason why you don't want it in there. So the next one was functionally isolated wetland buffers. And we had added a few things to this. We had excluded some items just because we wanted to have it kind of encompass as much as it could as far as what would be considered functionally isolated. She had a huge amount of text that she wanted us to add or consider adding. And I just feel like if we added that, I mean, she has the statement that roads would be, if it was a road, it would be public infrastructure such as roads and railroads, which we wouldn't really want to say just public roads, because you could have private roads that would have impervious surfaces that you would want to be able to consider as functionally isolating.
And the other
So
change here is she's asking for the administrator to make a lot of determinations here, where the code language that we have is just prescriptive. It just says this is what it is. So there's no
Yeah.
determination required. That you just have to do that. You don't have to ask a bunch of questions of Rachel to approve or disapprove of these items before you can develop your plan. So it's more convoluted with what they've suggested. They've got a lot of descriptive terms in there that add to it, but sometimes in a confusing way. So, and I think this was another suggestion because they use the language consider adding. So I didn't reach out to Emily and ask her if that's what she meant when she said that, but so I think we can take it or leave it. If it's a mandate, like I said, it will come out in the next step of the process, which is where we go out for SEPA.
Well, I always think less is more, so if we leave it out, that's fine with me, and if they come back at us and say, you can't take that out, well, I guess we can.
Well, they're not saying that though, and considering,
Yeah.
consider the following.
Yeah, she's just saying
Yeah.
consider,
Why
so
would we?
Yeah, just guidance.
I feel like when they do say, consider or we would suggest, there are some in here where she's not giving us she's just basically saying, please include this. And the other thing, like Todd was alluding to, this also puts a lot of responsibility on the administrator to evaluate whether the interruption will affect the entirety of the buffer, which that's really more like a consultant level decision. I feel like that's putting way more responsibility on the administrator to make decisions on a critical area. They probably have to consult with a consultant in order to make that decision. You wouldn't want to do that every time you had a possible functionally isolated structure or road.
Well, and without specific criteria for the evaluation and for these determinations that they're asking for, it puts the city in jeopardy too.
Right, at risk.
If you make a determination, you say, no, I don't think that does that, then I'm gonna say, well, what criteria did you use to determine that? Because there aren't any listed in your code. It just says you get to make a decision. And those are the most dangerous decisions for cities to make.
Legally, yeah.
Because they're open to challenge, and if the city makes a mistake, then they have to defend that, right? So it's in our collective opinion between ELS and me, I think it's better to leave the language that we have in this case.
So it's clear.
It's more clear, less is more in this case, I think.
It also deals with slopes, which they don't deal with at all.
Yeah, because we added that specifically after a long discussion. Because we have those conditions here.
We do.
in Toledo, so.
So the consensus that we leave it the way we had it? I believe that PC does agree with you.
Okay, great. The next one is a comment on our table. I don't know if you guys remember, we ever showed you what their tables look like, the ecology tables, but they're very, very confusing and very, very hard to read. And that's the reasoning behind why Clark County developed the ones that we used, because they are a lot easier for anyone to look at and understand. So she does say that, goodness, I'm having a trouble today. She does say that the buffer widths look the same and they do seem consistent.
Do you know-
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just curious, do you know what she means by more flexible? Because I looked at their tables, but I'm not well versed enough to understand what she means by more flexible than ours.
I don't really understand that either, because I really didn't feel like they did have more flexibility built into them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not really sure on that, but I would still,
Maybe more ways
I would
of
still
storing with more little details, and if you have this plant, it's this, or not sure.
yeah, so I would recommend leaving these as is, especially since they're from Clark County and Clark County's code has been adopted. So, and like I said, we've had a lot of tables over the years that we've looked at, and honestly, these are the easiest I've found of any jurisdiction to understand. So
Yeah,
I would definitely
I'm looking at it
recommend-
now, and they seem to classify in high detail the characteristics of the wetland, like if it's interdiurnal or estuarine and that sort of thing, and then you can sort of grade the buffer based on these characteristics. So I think maybe that's what they're talking about. But yeah, I agree with you that ours are far simpler and clearer, because I don't understand
But
why
those
we're
are-
grading anything here.
Well, those are all the criteria in the rating form. which
Right.
We're using, because we're saying you have to use the rating form in order to get your score.
Oh, so it's the same thing,
So the characteristics of the wetlands are in the rating form,
which you have to use.
which you have to use.
Okay.
So the fact that they built them into their tables, we haven't, we just put the points in there and said, use the rating form.
Oh, that's good to know.
So it's a simpler presentation of. That's the longhand version, if you incorporate everything in the form into
Yeah.
the tables. The shorthand form is just to say you use the form and the end result is this is what you get.
Okay.
So the flexibility maybe that she's referring to might be in completing the form, because as you
Get this
score
all
things,
together.
you know, as you score things, you get to individually evaluate all of those elements that are in their tables, but I'm not sure why that would be better to include.
Yeah.
Yeah,
way.
I don't see what the advantage would be, because the buffers are exactly the same.
Right.
So I'm still kind of lost at why there would be a difference in flexibility.
And she doesn't seem to disagree with that. I mean, she said these look consistent, but
Yeah.
she was just suggesting that might have more flexibility. I think the flexibility is also built into ours because it uses the base form as a precursor, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So the one thing I did actually change, and because I feel like it is a good statement to add, and even though I feel like it was kind of implied. I understand with her wanting to actually have it called out. And it's not out of the ordinary for it to be listed where, because you have buffer width reduction and you have buffer averaging. And typically you can't use both of them on the same wetland because you would be actually reducing it down more than if you used one or the other one alone. So you would actually be ending up with less buffer than you're allowed with the way the code is written now.
And this is 1738-280 for those of you
Right.
following.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So what I did is I just added under, it's down below, under wetland or buffer width averaging at 1738-290. I just added C under item 1, buffer averaging cannot be paired with buffer reduction methodology on the same wetland.
Mhm.
So that should make her happy.
And that's on page 7.
Oh, I don't have page numbers.
Okay.
I think this is one of the last ones. And it is in the averaging section. And it's a lot about reasonable use of a parcel, and allowing averaging to happen. So you can have reasonable use of your property.
So this is on
And then there's
1738-290, number 2,
Right.
for those of you following by the numbers. Sorry, Carrie.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry, I should have said that. So what we have listed is 3 criteria, which I feel like cover anything that you would really need in order to make sure that the averaging is still being done without losing any type of function. She does have, I think it's 5 different conditions, and I just feel like some of them, there's one that says any alteration of a critical area approved under this section shall be subject to appropriate conditions and will require mitigation. I've never seen where buffer averaging would require mitigation because that's the whole reason around averaging is that your total buffer area stays the same. So you may widen a buffer in one area and reduce a buffer in the other area, but overall the area is the same. So I wasn't really comfortable with putting that statement in. The way she wrote it, it wasn't really clear whether it was mandatory. She didn't say, consider or suggest. She just listed those items. So I would suggest we leave it as is, but I'm not sure when we go out to SEPA and they have, the formal comments, if they're going to require us to have it the way that she has listed here. And it also has to be demonstrated to the hearing examiner too.
Yeah, we don't have a hearings examiner, so that.
Don't look at me, Steve.
That code came from some other jurisdiction. She must have copied that from another
One more
jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I mean, the obvious choice here is do we take the elements that they've listed in place of ours, or do we keep what we have and and move forward and see if we get more detail on that comment. Or if that comment comes up with specific requirements through the SEPA review process. It looks like she's given us an example of another code because it has some specificity in there and cites a hearings examiner, so it wasn't something she wrote for us. It's another example out of some jurisdiction's code or maybe out of one of their model ordinances or something.
Yeah, it's not clear. And I mean, in several of these, we are saying basically the same thing, just not in exactly the same language that she has.
We say it in 3
So-
bullet points instead of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So I think I would suggest just leaving it and see if we get further comments.
Sounds good to me anyway.
I'm on board with that, and I got a nod over here, so we agree.
Okay.
Was there a comment earlier there on a code section? Are we missing a code section?
Oh, yeah, she was right. This was an incomplete code because it cross-references itself. And we hadn't, these numbers are the county's numbers, the
Oh, okay.
1738.
Yeah.
You also have a copy of this now in your land development code with all those
All
replaced.
150 pages of it.
Yeah, with all the proper references in the wetlands section, so. We can talk more about that one when we get there, but yes, that was her comment and she is correct.
Okay.
It was incomplete when we sent it to her. It didn't cross-reference the right code sections because we didn't know what the numbers were going to be.
Got it.
The next comment is on 1738-300. And she was wanting us to add mitigation sequencing. We do have mitigation sequencing already listed. It's in the general CAO area, which like I said on one of the other ones, she wouldn't have had access to because we didn't send her that. So she wouldn't have known that it was already listed. And I didn't really feel like we would necessarily need to repeat it here again.
And I imagine it's not normal to put a reference to say this is under section X or something like that. I mean, that would just be repeating it again anyway.
I don't know, Todd, what do you think about that?
No, it would be a way to incorporate one of her comments. Without adding another half page to our code. So we could just say that you have to follow mitigation sequencing. As stated in, and add the reference.
Yeah, we got some goodwill because we listened to her comments and didn't lose anything.
Yeah. So yeah, so maybe maybe we make it the new number 1 and move number 2 down, or I don't know, we can work it in there someplace and just add a bullet that says
Okay,
the mitigation sequencing in that code section applies.
Yeah, so where in the 2 places where she says this should be here, where we have it elsewhere, just basically make a reference and move on. I think would be fair.
Yeah, there was an instance up above too that we talked about that. So in both those cases, Carrie, we can just add the reference to where it exists in the final draft that we bring back for hearing.
okay.
And we'll make those in the land development code version of this.
Right.
Because that's the version that's final now that we're working with, and it has all the numbers correct, I think.
I think that was it.
That
I think
certainly
that's
was.
all I had. So,
Thank you very
Unless-
much for walking through that.
yeah. I wanted you guys to be clear why I'd made the comments that I did. And just, you know, there were a couple where there is some risk with us not following exactly what they said, but I think on those, we have a pretty good argument on why we would deviate from their suggestions, so. Especially when you have it already in an approved ordinance. So,
So I guess, so that could conclude that topic if you don't have any other questions, but the other thing I would ask you all, is to allow us to let Carrie go. If you have any other questions that related to wetlands or habitat, as you were looking through the full drafts of anything, that we catch her with those now, otherwise I'll be ill prepared to answer those, so.
I have one question. Is there any language in here that deals with man-made wetlands? Like if a retention pond gets built or a gravel pit or a ditch that fills up with water that exceeds 4,000 square feet? I know a biologist is gonna go out there and call them a wetland, but is there any language that would allow us to avoid that being classified as an actual wetland?
Carrie, do you want to try that or you want me to try first?
that would be, I think, in the general land development code, right? Because it's not, I think it's under,
So if a constructed wetland is constructed so well that it eventually meets the criteria and exhibits the same function as a wetland, then it becomes a regulated wetland.
Does it have to be constructed as a wetland habitat?
No, even roadside ditches, and you gave the examples of stormwater facilities. Stormwater facilities, if they're properly maintained, usually they have a maintenance plan with those that says you have to go in and muck them out and clean them out and all that stuff. So they don't really ever establish themselves as a wetland because they don't have that persistent vegetation. But if it has the hydrology, if it has the water in it, if it has the correct soil types, and if it has the vegetation, then it is a wetland, even if it's a stormwater feature that was constructed as a roadside ditch. And there's not anything you can do to change that because the classification of those is regulated by the state. So they say you have to do it this way.
We can still manage the wetland.
You can.
Because I've seen a number of instances where the county and the state have done so.
I have a project right now where the diking district has failed to maintain one of their ditches. And it now meets the criteria for being a wetland, and it meets the stream criteria too, because it flows water. But the diking district's response was, we'll just go in and maintain it, and then it won't meet those criteria anymore. So
I remember reading about that there was an occasion that you could construct a wetland, but you could, if the wetland only existed because you constructed it, you could deconstruct it. But there was some, I don't know what the fine details of that were, but I remember that language being there. But if it was something that you just found that someone else has constructed or was part of your land, you couldn't touch it anymore. But if it was something that you put up to retain water, that you had some more sort of control over it.
that's not the way I understand the regulations to be.
I don't know the
If-
regulations.
If you
so-
construct a man-made lake
Yeah.
on your property, and then you want to go in and fill it,
Yeah,
if it meets the wetland criteria, you've done a good job at constructing it, and it's now a regulated wetland. I don't think, Carrie, have you ever seen a case where you have been able to successfully argue that a constructed feature that meets wetland criteria isn't a wetland?
no, not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, that's all mandated by the state law, and it says that when you do these things, you have to use this manual in determining whether it's a wetland or not.
yeah.
And the manual doesn't say you get a free pass if you built it.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, that's unfortunate because things that are ill-maintained do
Yeah.
become regulated over
Well,
time, and you
one of
get
the
setbacks from roadside ditches
One
that,
of the bigger examples of that around here is the stock ponds
Yeah,
that are left alone for
Mhm.
several years at a time, and all of a sudden, boom.
yeah, and it happens with where you get weird buffers and roadside ditches too. I mean, if they get overgrown and they get some trees in them and a few other things, well, now they're a forested wetland, so
yeah, because I was thinking of building a wetland. at
you have a
one point.
300-foot buffer from one of those things, and
I called state, they said if they can see it from the plane and they can determine that it's holding water, it's immediately gonna be on their radar to go look at it and make sure it's classified and all that stuff.
Oh, all right. I
so
don't like that.
No.
No, no.
Well, I don't think any property owner should like
You know,
that,
coming,
but
coming from California, which is just like, you know, I mean, so far left in its environmental criteria, it became second nature to not only provide instructions on maintenance for private development or for a commercial property, just so those things don't happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's something that you have built and have ownership in, then you have a maintenance schedule to go out there and do the maintenance to prevent that from happening. Now around here, you get little, you know, 1 and 2 lot subdivisions, and you get somebody that wants to do something with his property and he builds a ditch and he's not really cognizant of the requirements or the rules, and they can get themselves into trouble and do.
yeah, well, and it happens with farm fields too. As the farm ages and everything, oftentimes they put in drain tiles, which they're allowed to do as a farming practice. But those don't get maintained, they get silted in, and then they start to pond water. And they pond water and then they grow vegetation, and because those drain tiles were put in an area that was previously a wetland, and it was drained, it becomes that again. So, you know, that 50 acres of farm field that it's been worked for agriculture for oftentimes decades, it becomes, it has all these little pothole regulated wetlands throughout, and they all have buffers, and it makes it very expensive and difficult to develop that into something else.
Well, we kind of got off the beaten path a little bit. Can we let these people go?
Yes, I think that was a good question and
It was.
definitely on point with what we've been discussing.
Well, if Francis was here, he would say everyone should maintain their ditches. He even has a coffee cup that says that. Because we have so many clients that don't maintain their facilities, and then they become wetlands, and then, you know, then they want to impact it. And so we have contracts with several even some ports to make sure that that happens. So that's a hot topic for us too.
Were there any other
Anyway.
questions, Gary, about anything to do with, get into the rest of the code? We're gonna talk about the wetlands and habitat stuff
Sure.
in there. If you want to, if you have more questions, now might be the time to bring those up. If not, I think, Chair, if you don't mind, we can dismiss Carrie, and
I agree. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
You're back again. Okay, well, moving on, we've got the updated land development code. All, I don't know how many pages I can put scrolling the content.
These are all of them right here.
Are they? Good Lord.
You guys read it all, right? Got all caught up?
Well, I got to the marijuana part and I gave up.
Went to bed.
which is sort of now back in this draft. I figured out why that orphan section in there about marijuana gardens was orphaned. It's because the entire section 4A had been deleted from that draft of the code. When I went through, we were only working in some sections.
Right.
So I categorically excluded the sections that we weren't gonna change or touch. So when I picked up the draft and I was finalizing it, to be, the intent here is to completely re-adopt this land development code. So that's why I presented a version without track changes. We made numerous changes in numerous meetings, and I do have each meeting's draft of the code elements as we went through them. But this is the recompiled version of all your work, along with the sections that we have never modified. There was one thing in here that we had talked about that we did not modify and we did not meet on, and that was the noticing requirements that are in your land development code for the signs. We've talked
about those signs.
We've talked about changing those. So tonight's meeting on all of these things is just your final workshop on everything. Everything that you've looked at throughout this entire 1.5 year long process is now compiled into the final documents that will go forward for review and adoption. You'll have a public hearing on them next month, hopefully, I'll get through SEPA. And we'll start the 60-day review. Council can't act on them until the conclusion of the 60-day review, but you can.
Right.
You can have a public hearing at the conclusion of SEPA and forward on your recommendation to council. And then once the 60-day review period closes, then council can take your recommendation and take action.
Now, it's nice to revisit some of the things that we'd gone over in a format that looked ordered. You know, the mixed use in the front, you know, the first street and the grandfathering and the things that we all talked about over many meetings. And like I said, the only comment I had was I was pretty darn sure that when we were discussing lot sizes for development, that we came to the determination of 6,000 square foot lots, and your land development code says 9,000. And I don't recall that.
Okay, well, so that one was, we actually did change that by ordinance previously. So we had single family and then multifamily that were both allowed in our residential zone.
Right.
So it could be that when I was recompiling this, that I overrode some of the discussion that we might have had in our meeting, that because we now have different densities residential zones. We don't
Right.
just have one residential zone anymore. So either I could have misinterpreted that, or I might have gone back and overrode that with, because I went back and did a double check to make sure that all the ordinances that I had worked on, there was one for driveway slopes that said it must be 10%. So we had an ordinance that fixed that, and council adopted that one. So I had that one, and I had the one where we fixed the lot sizes in the zoning so that.
Well, you know, you mentioning that does bring back to mind, I'm pretty sure that what we did at that time is we indicated the downtown core could be 4,000, that future development would be 6,000. And I think it was multifamily that went to 9,000 square feet. And I'm
Okay.
not sure if there was a stipulation on the number of units that were involved in the multifamily.
So I think you're talking about section 3.02. It's permitted uses and standards in the residential zones. And this is the R1 low density residential zone. So it's subsection 1, and then the letter is C, where it talks about lot standards, and then Roman numeral 3.
Hearing notes on both of these topics, if I can read it.
Sure.
So the description of the proposal amendments to Toledo's land development code section 304 residential zone lot area, providing an increase in minimum lot area for duplexes from 4,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet within city limits, and setting the minimum of 9,000 square feet within the UGA. Additionally, topographical errors in section 10.4 design standards. The current required driveway be built to a 12% grade will be corrected, modifying the language to allow driveways with grades up to 12%.
So 9,000 square feet in the UGA is still correct. And the minimum lot size for the R1 residential district. And this is different now, because before you just had one all-encompassing residential district. So in the R1, we don't allow the multifamily housing anymore.
Right.
And that is the zone now that's applied to your downtown core, because we ran into an issue where we didn't want apartments downtown.
Right.
So right now, the minimum lot size is 4,000 square feet in that R1 district. So that doesn't apply to multifamily housing. Single family homes with ADUs. Gardens and accessory structures, garages and sheds is what's allowed in the R1 zone. The R2 zone, which allows multifamily housing, the R2 and R3 zones have higher density. The R2 allows duplexes, townhouses, fourplexes, and small multifamily complexes. community facilities, permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, and indoor emergency housing and shelters, because we're required to have those. There, the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet for duplexes. Townhomes, 3,000 square feet per lot, and 22,000 square foot for multifamily buildings.
Mhm.
And then for the R3 zone, where we have multifamily apartment buildings and high-rise residential buildings, we have just the density in that zone, 16 to 30 units per dwelling acre. So that's the highest density zone that we have for residential.
But we really haven't addressed then, within the city limits, what we wanted to do is we did not want a bunch of 4,000 square foot lots in our new developments, both Callis Meadows and the Jolma property.
So it's 9,000 square feet in the UGA.
But that's not UGA anymore, that is city limits. And we wanted that at 6,000 square feet. And I think Callis Meadows went to great pains and got a variance on one lot or two lots that didn't quite meet that. To make that. From the standpoint of development, I mean, you start requiring 9,000 square foot lots, you price the developer right out of being able to build and because land is not that cheap here anymore.
So what is the correct thing that we should say in the R1 zoning district for downtown? You want it to say minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet?
No, downtown core is still 4,000 square feet minimum. What I'm saying is in the new developments, subdivisions, which are what, greater than 4 lots? Is that our subdivision?
Greater than 5. I don't think you've done it
Greater than
yet.
5, that we wanted 6,000 square foot lots.
So we have also our new zoning map,
Right.
which we should look at because that's where the R1 zoning is applied.
Then we zone those 2 areas as R1.
We have the downtown residential district zoned as R1. So, this is going to take a minute to load.
I don't recall the council ever actually addressing the zoning for the 2 parcels that were going to be developed, other than the fact that they were going to be built as houses.
They never addressed the zoning in that regard. They are now with your recommendation on the zoning map and the zoning code. You take those 2 together. That is just not loading. Well, let me try something else.
You find this useful to look at the entire document, what you read out. For instance, highlighted in some way.
We have
So you
more.
could identify what's actually changed. Does that matter?
I don't remember it, but
We have more tools in our toolbox now. So
No,
now we have different zoning. We don't just have one zoning class. We have multiple densities in residential zoning, and then we have a zoning map that applies those different zones. So we can change areas so that they're zoned differently. Or we can change the zoning code that categorically requires certain lot sizes in certain zones. But if you want to allow the 4,000 square feet in the R1 zone, but you only want that to apply to existing lots and not new ones.
I think the distinction was when you have these places that are doing 5 lots and above for the
subdivision.
Yeah, but the subdivision is all, I think, what Steve's talking about.
So you want to differentiate between subdivisions or have to do 6,000 square foot lots, but short plats could do 4,000 square foot
Correct.
lots. So up to
Which we
4
did.
lots.
Oh, we almost did with
Kurt.
with Kurt.
Well, we did that because he was willing to do that. He could have built an apartment.
Well, he was
complex
under the
because-
old zoning, I understand
Yeah.
that, but I mean, that's kind of what we had in mind when we were thinking about maintaining that 4,000 downtown. Was number one, giving people an opportunity to subdivide their property that were sitting on a 800 square foot cottage. And bring some more housing into the downtown core. But also not having that kind of postage stamp situation when we got out into the more rural sections of the city. And ultimately our UGAs, for subdivision work. And we did not want boxes built next to boxes.
But yet that's where you have all your higher density zones. So your
Well,
multifamily zones are all out in your future UGA and in that area now. That's where we put that color on the map.
but you know, I think that if I recall that anything over 5 lots became a condition of approval anyway. Subdivisions are subject to conditions of approval.
So are short plats, but we've never had zoning that applies differently to subdivisions than short plats.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, you made the case to Cowlitz Meadows that they had to be 6,000 square feet.
Yes, because that's what your zoning code allowed at the time.
So
I don't
this
recall it.
new zoning code changes that.
Yes, yeah, we can, so we're gonna adopt, well, council is going to adopt the new zoning code that we worked on. And the new zoning maps, so this is gonna completely erase.
Well, we're gonna have that same conversation once it goes to council, because I know Eric Hayes is not he's not looking at it that way. I've had a discussion with him on that.
So Cowlitz Meadows, though, was approved under your existing zoning code. And those standards will continue to apply to them because they're vested and grandfathered in. If they wanted to abandon that project and resubmit, they could then use the new zoning code. But they got approval and their approval remains valid. It just got extended by council, it expired, so.
So do we need to change the code to match what we want?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. That is exactly what we need to do. We need to make sure that we get it the way you want it. But I guess I'm still not understanding. I wouldn't recommend allowing, because then somebody would just short plat the lot, leave a remainder, come back in and short plat the lot again, because they can get higher density. So there's a workaround to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it occurred to me that what you're looking at, Steve, is a specific area where that would apply, which would be downtown. So it's almost like anything not downtown would then be under the 6,000, no matter what. It doesn't matter if there's subdivision or not.
That way.
I mean, that would be it, because otherwise you're in these fine grain like edge cases of like, well, you only built 4, now you're gonna build 4 more, and they're all 4,000, so I bypass the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should, you know, when we tried to isolate the downtown core, when we were zoning. You know, should we have made that an old R1 and called it that?
Well, you
know, so that you could.
can have as many residential zones as you want. Remember in the
The
beginning,
historical R1.
we went through a list and some places have a dozen residential zones. And you can choose to have that complexity. It's a bit late in the game now to try and do that. But
How do we accomplish what we're going to accomplish, Todd?
I'm still trying to figure out. I think if you look at the zoning map, it works, but not to regulate short plats and subdivisions differently. So
I think the zoning's back here, Todd, too.
But I think what if
The
I'm
new
not
zoning map?
if I'm not
Did you print out the new
misunderstanding
ones?
this, we're saying that if we had a way to isolate the downtown designation and say this is
That's the-
downtown
that's the
residential,
existing.
that's a minimum of 4,000.
The new ones that
Anything
are
else is a
planning
minimum of
commission
6,000. That seems to address the box.
Yeah, I,
Okay.
you know, then you're gonna get into the claims of the people on the north side of town. Well,
Right.
why am I included in that, you know? And I don't have a good answer for them.
The only thing I can think of is the historical nature of the downtown, would
Tom?
be able to keep the character of the downtown.
Tom, what's your recollection on this?
I thought we were with 6,000 feet. 4,000 in Old Town, although we
Mhm.
didn't have that land. We referred to it as that, but we don't have it in writing as old R1. But that was 4,000 square feet. And new development would be 6,000 square feet.
And that seems to make sense,
I mean, I
because
thought that.
this has very different characteristics than
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
this is
areas,
the
and I think that's an easy argument to make.
Yeah, these are, old R1s,
it's
a bunch of old houses. Well, there's some.
Keep it dry.
But there's
Oh,
small
more every day.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think I got it.
But yeah, 6,000 in for new development.
This is
That's
the
what I
urban
thought we
reserve.
were at.
That's where we're at, yeah.
But
it
Back
goes,
close.
it goes with this one. Yeah, we're close. We're in the right neighborhood.
That's it, right?
Urban reserve, this is still the urban reserve area zoning. It's printed a different way. This one's printed. Oh, that's in the transportation solutions memo. This one here.
Well, cause I know what we don't wanna see is we don't wanna see the Joma property end up being 500 homes and 4,000 square feet each. You know, instead of.
Well, so right now, so I can look at that. Maybe. Get my mouse to work. My mouse is not. It's not properly on the surface for some reason. It's a picky mouse. There we go.
You weren't on the commission back then, were you, when we did that?
You want me to send you the map, Rachel? And
I'll print it out for everyone.
yeah. So right now, the Joma property is designated. I skipped right over it.
They are.
Oh, that's why I don't have the right zoning layer turned on. I have the future land use map showing. There we go.
Tracy a little further west on Toledo Vader Highway or Toledo Vader Road. It's all the old Sorenson lots.
We have that slated for residential low density, so that is the R1 zone, so 4,000 square foot lots would be permissible there.
That's not gonna get approved.
So we need to change it. You just want 6,000 square foot lots is what you're allowed to do?
Well, I wanna maintain the 4,000 downtown and I wanna do 6,000. Not in downtown,
New expand, new builds.
new builds.
So if you do a new build downtown, you want it to be 6,000. If I come in and buy a block and tear the houses down, I gotta do 6,000 square foot lots now, or can they be 4?
Well, my thinking is, old R1 is a very specific area with specific boundaries. And beyond that is what I'll call new building, new build. New
Okay,
development.
but within that area,
I think what he's saying is that within that area, any permit in any condition, in any way, the minimum lot size is 4,000.
okay. So if I buy a couple of blocks in old downtown and I tear it down and want to build something else, I can plot it to 4,000 square foot
But
lot.
they're all gonna be single family homes,
Right, R1,
R1,
right?
look, yeah, right.
but if I buy the same acreage that's not in old downtown,
Lot sizes are gonna be 6,000.
then they gotta be 6,000
Yep.
Yeah,
for any development,
Yes.
short plat subdivisions, everything.
it does seem like we.
We talked about the lot
Like we
sizes.
talked a lot about that.
We did.
It seems
We
like we
did.
did.
Well,
And I appreciate you being devil's advocate and
well, right now, we have a commercial core downtown, and then we have,
Is there a compelling reason you see that would be problematic?
no, I'm just trying to understand exactly what you want. I mean, the only thing that I'm worried about now is timing.
have you submitted this to anybody?
Oh, no, and this is a workshop. This is our last workshop on it
Okay.
before I go out for SEPA, which I've got to do in the next week or two in order to do it. But if I'm going to make changes, then I have to bring it back to you all again. So it'll delay the SEPA and it'll mean
Well, we
another.
don't want that, so you tell us when you're done and we'll.
So if Rachel can print that map and you can
I haven't
mark it
gotten
up.
anything, I haven't gotten anything in yet.
Is it one of the maps that's in the packet?
Yeah, it's just the packet's so big, I can't find it.
So hold on, because I have mentioned to the printer.
So it's not in the packet that got posted on there. The zoning maps. It is a folder that's in the link that I sent. But those are, I don't see them as an individual item in there.
They go back to your Dropbox.
But it's good that you caught that. Because if this is not what you intended, then this is the final review to catch that. So it's good that you caught it, but I'm just. Like I said, I'm just concerned with the timing of the whole thing.
Can you give me so you have 4 maps in that maps folder.
Yes,
So city limits zoning,
city limits zoning would be the best map to print, and if you can print that at 11 by 17.
Do we want to identify the downtown core?
I think that's key. That's good. That's the only thing that makes the argument sane, because if we're gonna preserve the downtown for a specific reason with this, we also want to be able to identify it for other reasons as we move forward.
And I thought we did that.
Oh,
I thought we did that too.
Yeah.
it looks like.
Well,
Okay,
Then
so
why?
the city limit zoning, I just pulled that map up and that looks like it has the future land use. The general categories,
with that not one.
that's not
When
what
we
we
were
want.
rezoning everything,
Mhm.
I thought he printed a map that showed the downtown core as a specific item.
Yes, it was a different color
Yeah,
than the others.
yeah.
I don't know if that was
This colors all.
I do remember having a conversation with Todd about the colors not being right.
Sure.
I do remember that too, by the
Exactly.
way, in that first iteration, but I do remember the when we were talking about it, we were clearly talking about only the downtown.
Right,
So both of the maps that I have in that folder, the city's limit zoning map. Is not, it's the future land use that got printed for that one.
Rachel says we haven't offered for it, Patrick.
I'll send you a new link.
Okay, you're sending me a new.
I'm working on
Okay,
it.
sorry.
We always allow political signs. We always allow political signs, or is that?
political sign?
Yeah, we those all, I never saw one before. In town, do we allow them now?
They can't go up, well, most of it's private property.
Oh, I see, so you go, I see,
Yeah,
okay.
it's usually the property owner is willing to put a sign on his property.
Put his target up.
So this is actually the future land use map. Sorry. Apparently the one that I had in the folder, city limits zoning. So there's the map that I want.
What, give it back?
Whoa, great.
Just trying to keep you guys on your toes, seeing if you're awake.
I totally didn't even notice that, I would have taken that map and been like, perfect.
So, what
Give
I
it
want
back.
to do is print.
This is top secret information, nobody's supposed to.
Yeah.
know about.
Not that
That
map.
whole package got printed in colors too.
I remember looking at the map.
That's a page. The big one.
It came out when you were asking us if this was what we wanted, if we were sure this is how we wanted to zone everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had a couple reviews of the map.
I think it was just an assumption that the downtown had been delineated as different than the others, and I.
Yeah, because it was
I think
cut
that's the
off
disconnect.
by the mixed
is.
use going up 505.
It is, but we also,
Then it cut off at, I think, fifth or fifth hit.
but we don't have two different
Maybe.
residential zones that for single family residential.
I'm sorry.
We do not have two different residential zones for single family residential. We have a single, a medium, and a high
I
density
know.
residential is all we have.
So I think what we're looking for is then this Old Town R1 or whatever we want to end up calling it, old R1.
Or historic. or-
Historical, historical one,
Sure,
whatever you guys, I mean,
whatever
think-
language separates it from.
and encourages what we want to see also, right? So if we want it to be historic R1, then maybe that's any further zoning modifications would have to make sense with that.
Okay, print complete, so I'll just move that. Let me see. Oh, it's not too big. We just double check to make sure. Okay, it looks like that did print correctly. So I am just gonna send this. I'll send this to Cindy.
What is it lot size, usually, not that's a stupid question, but I, 4,000. 4,000.
Downtown.
So I was trying to figure out,
Old
because
town.
Toledo was all platted with lots and blocks, so what is the standard lot size?
8,000.
Huh?
Standard lot size was about 8,000 square feet. So each block was like 6 lots, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna allow them to make 2 lots out of every platted lot,
Right,
historically platted lot.
right.
In theory, and that way the folks who have the existing housing have options to what to do with their plot, essentially.
Is there a way I can share my screen to the big screen?
Do you want to log into Zoom? No.
Oh, I could do that.
Looks like we're having internet issues, so.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really slow.
well, so I just sent the map from outside your internet.
Yeah, I hotspot my phone, and I can do that. Otherwise, I'm lost.
That's a phone.
Well, this has a little hotspot, so it connects to my phone.
Oh,
It uses my cellular as Wi-Fi.
You found it.
Got it?
I'm gonna pay for
I
the
got
data.
the facility plan. I got the email.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I just emailed this one to Cindy. She's printing it now.
fine.
In there. And you want this on tablet?
Yes, please.
Coming at you, Rachel.
That freaking book she was holding.
I did see that.
You know, it would have been a bummer if it was like the wrong version that got printed.
Indeed.
Well, this is a compilation of all the work that we've done. So that's, I mean, it's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then the sections that we didn't change just got maintained as the same.
Is there anything we didn't touch?
Well, the marijuana code we didn't touch.
When was it developed, actually?
I do not know.
Marijuana code,
Yeah,
back in Michelle's days.
Was it-
We just rolled it forward when we did the comp plan in 2020.
was that before it was, recreationally legal?
It might have been modified when it went from medical to recreational.
Okay.
And Rachel, I printed a copy for this letter as well. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. There you go.
Yeah, I remember it. Okay, this looks like what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this has the same color.
This is the R1 for everything.
Right.
Yeah, and
This has a different color downtown, so on this one, the residential low density is kind of that purplish color.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the same purplish color that we painted up on some of the areas that are the Jolma property.
So we want to paint the downtown a different color and call it H1.
HR.
And then develop a new zoning code section for HR1.
The only difference would be the lot size.
Okay.
So maybe we just do a zoning overlay. So we make the minimum lot size in the R1 zone 6,000 square feet every place in the UGA and not. And then
And point that as an exception to.
and then do the overlay and say within the overlay, the same uses are allowed, but you're allowed to go down to 4,000 square feet.
Perfect. That makes more sense.
Yeah, that simplifies it.
Sort of.
Well,
It-
for us,
Yeah,
not for you, but you know.
yeah, I just, so,
Try to do it in as few words as possible.
well, yeah, at this point, it's gotta be, I don't have any time to develop new zoning code anymore, if we're gonna maintain our schedule.
And we are going to maintain our schedule.
So you don't, because Jolma wanted to do, because they've got some medium density up there too, because they wanted to do mixed use, so they've got some commercial.
They had a commercial, they didn't ask for it, and they asked for a zoning commercial on that one piece of property too.
Yep. But you do not want them to do multifamily up there on the hill.
Well, they were going to do townhomes
Mhm.
along the entry line, which would have been across the street from the commercial lot.
So maybe do we just want, well, we don't want the high density.
Well, I think what they're gonna have to do is ask for a variance for rezoning of a particular portion of their property so they can accomplish that. Which could be done during the conditions of approval.
Well, rezone
Negotiate.
can only happen once a year. No, rezones can happen more frequently than once a year. It's comp plan changes that can only happen once a year. And the way I did these, that's what the future land use map is, so you can move categories within the residential. And not have to do a comp plan change, just change your zoning, so.
And we can start with the overlay to at least safeguard that concern, and then over time, we can always, make it its own district and all that stuff. So if we wanna make changes further, but at least it's protected in that way.
So is that purplish area downtown? Is that the correct boundaries for where you'd like the overlay to be that allows the 4,000 square foot lots?
Does it just include this? Or does it actually include?
Well, is that the growth properties and the sewer treatment plant?
Yeah. I remember these were classified as residential, right? The sewer treatment plant in the area.
This one includes, so the purple area that I'm referring to,
I'm talking about the triangle and the two rectangles, the two triangles and the two rectangles there,
This-
so
These guys.
yeah, okay, so that's the school in the park, right?
Okay.
okay. Well, they're not gonna get changed.
But, so the overlay zone
Would be down
is everything except for the school in the park within that purple area.
Sixth Street, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
something like that.
right, to First Street.
And you want somebody to come in and be able to do 4,000 square foot lots in that area,
Yes,
okay?
I believe that already can, didn't we change that already?
Yeah, it's the R1, or they can do that as R1. And so, but now we wanna change the R1 to be 6,000, and the overlay is gonna make that back to what R1 is now.
Right.
Yeah, I guess. Your R1, your residential zone now allows a lot of different densities, it's, so. it allows the apartments and everything, but you don't want that downtown. You just
Right.
want 4,000 square foot, single family lots.
That's right.
That's it. That's it.
So the R1 zone is still appropriate. We're just changing the density to allow the 4,000 square foot lots down.
Right.
Okay. So I'll put the overlay over it and then I'll include that in the zoning code. Rachel, are you recording this meeting?
Yeah.
Good. Cause I forgot to hit record on my phone.
Yeah, and we've got,
It's also.
On Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Panic moment.
Somebody wants to go to sleep.
Yep, no, I do understand that, so that's a good catch and I can make that change and I'll add that overlay zone. Within there. That should be a fairly easy change. And not many words.
And so I know we're saying that we have the ability to wait 60 days before these things, is that right? Before these get adopted, or is this gonna be separate from the 10-year?
This is all, everything that you have tonight, we have a future land use map, which is the one that Rachel printed you initially.
Yeah.
That's your comp plan designation map,
Right.
and that shows the general categories, residential, commercial, residential employment. And
So if at any point within
Mixed
these
use.
60 days, there's something we find in the document that we'd like to talk about in the plan commission,
Hold your tongue.
we can bring it up as a
You-
additional business.
Well, I wanted to see that.
so we're gonna go out for SEPA review,
Yeah.
and we're gonna also, we've already published a notice of public
Yeah.
hearing
Exactly,
for next month.
right.
So you're going to have one more chance to modify this next month. This is your last workshop on
Yeah.
it, so it's our last ability to openly discuss things that I might have missed or misinterpreted. So
But I.
good.
I would say this right now to the members of the commission. Make time between now and the public hearing to read through the entire thing. Because you don't know who's gonna come in with questions about what particular topic. And I prefer that we don't look like we don't know what we're doing.
Well, I think we owe it to them to know what we're doing, otherwise, what are we doing, right?
Well, and to double check my work too, because in this case, obviously I had done something that you hadn't intended, so.
Well, I
It's
wanted
a
to make.
good catch. Now is a good time to catch that.
I wanted to get my expectations correct, because in my brain, I'm thinking, well, okay, we have 60 days, that means that for some reason, there's something in there that looks important to talk about.
As a commission, you have 30 days from
Okay,
today. After that, you'll have to comment as a member of the public at the council hearing and ask council to change it.
so from today, we have 30 days to do something formal like that, otherwise you're just gonna go through the process of what everybody has to go through to vocalize any concerns you have. That's
Yep.
right.
The public, this plan isn't adopted until council adopts it.
Yeah,
So you have, as a commission, though, it's our schedule, today's our last workshop to kind of catch any of the big things that I
Yep.
might need to pick up. And then you'll have a public hearing on it where you'll take public input, but you all can also, at that time, inspire other changes or corrections or.
well, the reason
anything
I
else.
ask is because you have a deadline, right? So the SEPA thing needs to be turned in, all this stuff. So if we have changes, is it realistic that there's gonna be a change?
You can make changes after SEPA, because this change won't be a part of the SEPA. Maybe it will, I don't know, if I can incorporate it before next week when we get SEPA published, then.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to decide if I need to I would like to spend more time reading through it more carefully and taking my time, because, 6 days is a long time, but I haven't had the time to read the whole thing.
yeah,
And so the question is, can I do that, and is it of any value?
Yes, yes. you
Okay.
have-
and what you guys submit to council, though, you wanna make sure that what you're submitting to them is what you want. Is
You
like what
can-
Todd's saying is like
Oh, I see what
30
you-
days,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're gonna say this is what we're recommending to council, so you wanna make sure that you,
That's
within
exactly
30
right.
days.
Yes,
Try to go through it in 30 days, cause that's gonna be your recommendation.
so that is the
Well,
expectation.
you would,
Yes.
you would
Yeah.
treat your own possible changes. Just like you would have, one of the public came to the podium and offered up an idea that you agreed with.
That's after
That
30
should,
days.
no, this is our public hearing. At your public hearing, you're gonna have input from the public.
Yeah,
They're gonna make comments. You might find one of the comments is something that we hadn't thought of, that you need to incorporate.
right.
Well, treat yourself as the same thing,
Mhm.
because we're gonna be on the board taking the public hearing. But if you have things that you think were missed or something like that, that are necessary to be put in here, then bring them to that meeting. We incorporate all those changes at once and those go to Todd for the final.
Yeah, and
The zoning, you're saying the zoning changes that they just did won't go into this comp plan? We'll have to do it after, is that what you're saying?
The zoning.
Yeah, the
No.
ones that you just said.
So the ones they just said will go into this.
Okay,
But I'm not sure. So SEPA has to be done before you can make a recommendation, before any action can be taken on it. So before you recommend to council, SEPA has to close. But you can change it after SEPA. And as long as we're not changing anything wildly significant, and this minor change wouldn't require another SEPA notice or a
So
renote.
we're gonna,
So changes between
SEPA's got 60 days though.
SEPA's got 15 days.
Well, 15 days.
Yep.
So this could be done between our public hearing and our October meeting.
No, your public hearing, SEPA has to conclude the end of the 15
No,
days.
what I'm talking about is changes.
okay,
You
so
can change it at your public hearing
When will we be able to recommend it to council?
next month at next month's
That's what I meant.
meeting. Yeah,
That's what I was getting.
at your September planning commission meeting, I'm asking you to make a recommendation to council. You don't have to do that. If you're not comfortable
But
doing
SEPA
that,
will have already completed by then.
SEPA's done.
That's all I.
And you'll be in the middle of the 60-day review with Commerce, so we'll be getting comments back from everybody. And I'd like to get SEPA done as soon as I can, so that way I get the comments and I have a chance to make suggestions to you all at the public hearing about how to incorporate those.
Very good.
So, but if next month you're not comfortable forwarding a recommendation onto council, then you keep it. And we can either schedule special meetings and get it done, or, I mean, if something comes up and we don't want to rush through this and do it wrong.
so can I add one thing? So within the concept of what changes we can make. And this is what I heard you say. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, and just make a distinction between participating in the public hearing 30 days from now versus what we can do now between that 30 days. And so what I heard you say is, we have 30 days as a planning commission, all of us, to read this document. And if there's anything that we feel needs to be brought up before the public hearing, we should bring it up at council. I mean, at our planning commission, to be able to talk about it.
So there isn't
Is that
another
correct?
planning commission meeting until our public hearing. And so in order to have a quorum, then we'd need a special meeting.
A special meeting, we
Call a
need a
special
vote.
meeting in
I
order
see.
to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this is your last workshop and talk about things.
I mean, unless you guys want to set up another special meeting, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now before it goes to public hearing.
That's the question. Do you guys want to take 2 weeks to read this really well, and condition that little meeting on whether or not we need to meet because you saw something? And if you don't want to do that, that's fine, but it's a suggestion because I know I haven't had time to internalize the entire plan. I don't, if you guys feel comfortable with that, that's great. It would be nice to be able to say, I read the whole thing and I didn't find anything that seemed insane in there, and so I don't have anything to bring up. And if we don't have anything to bring up, we don't have to have a meeting. How do you feel? How do you hesitate?
So you want to set a meeting subject to cancellation?
Yeah,
We could do that if everybody agrees to that.
I wouldn't mind, I'm pretty late to the game here and I'm.
yeah,
for the 2 weeks from now.
You have poured over every one of these sections individually.
yeah.
And in my opinion, you're looking for oversights like you did tonight.
Right.
So.
Well, and then
whereas-
additional,
Whereas Jake and Tracy are brand new to this game and they're similar to the public, right?
Good.
They're gonna bring up things that that you guys never thought.
So how does Wednesday, September 3rd sound?
That's a good point.
That's fine.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Todd?
Same time, 6 o'clock?
let me check.
I can do that.
We can always get you on Zoom too, if that's easier. That way you don't have to drive all the way out here.
For these types of discussions, it's actually easier for me to be here in
Oh,
person if I
yeah, I
can.
can imagine.
I mean, sometimes it goes okay on Zoom, but sometimes it doesn't, especially if you have internet issues or if audio's not great or something else. So you said September is a busy month for me.
September 3rd, 6 PM.
And I am free.
That's a
that-
Wednesday.
Is that right? I have a dental appointment. That's all I have that day. So I can.
Will you
do
be able
that.
to talk?
It should just be a checkup.
Okay.
So,
Well, unless.
Does it affect what we can do?
Workshop, you wouldn't be doing motions or decisions that require motions.
But if we
So
actually,
even your meetings really are workshops. You just have the luxury of passing things.
so then if the whole meeting is, the only reason the meeting happens is because somebody really finds something that they would like to bring up as a change, then we should probably be able to vote on it. There's not a big window.
Well, I think that individually, then we should probably email either Cindy or Rachel. So that we're not talking back and forth, so.
yeah,
Um,
if you find anything
if you-
and it's just an error, then I can just correct that. We don't need to have a meeting about it.
But if you read through it and you say, I don't have any problems, just email Rachel and say, I have no problems, and if she gets a bunch of, I have no problems. She can cancel the meeting.
Exactly.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and if you do have issues, then you can email them to Rachel and she can forward them on to me, or you can just email me directly, but you should not email each other.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, but if,
No.
you know, like, and on this issue, on this tonight, if I did misunderstand what we were talking about, or if I did it wrong, then this type of thing would probably have to come back to another meeting, because it's not certain to me, but if you point out, oh, by the way, you've referenced the wrong section here, it's an obvious error, then I can just fix it. We don't have to have a meeting about it. But some of these things will rise to a level of needing another meeting for open discussion, like we did tonight.
Is
Yeah.
your GIS public?
I have a question. How
It
do we
is
get a
not.
Copy of
Is there
the
any way
report
that-
without going through
That
three
can
reams
get
of paper in your
emailed to
house?
us?
Do you want a physical copy?
Yes,
I mean, I can't really.
it goes to bed. with
Right,
me.
right.
My
So
computer,
right now,
my computer does not.
Yeah, I could make copies if you really want a printed copy.
I really,
It would be
really
black
do.
and white. Will you email me? Oh, I'll just make a note, right? No, where did my agenda? Oh, okay.
I guess even if you had a PDF of it that was zoomable, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll send you guys tomorrow, because this is the final,
Yeah.
yeah, so everything in that folder that I shared,
this one.
yep, but I shared it as a shared folder on OneDrive.
Will you,
So I just need to swap that map out.
and then will you resend it to me tomorrow, and then I'll get you guys out of clean copies.
It's gonna be the same link, I can get that to her.
It's the map I just sent you.
Right.
But
No,
it,
You're gonna replace it in the folder.
yeah, I'll just copy that map over
I can't
the other
write on
one.
my computer.
I would just
either.
throw it right down, my chicken scratch at it. I go
Yeah.
to eat it.
And Todd, does the same criteria apply to the 10-year plan? The change criteria that we've been talking about, 30 days and the sort of thing?
So everything in your packet tonight is all on that
Okay.
same timeline.
All right,
So the comp plan, the land development code.
Yeah.
The zoning maps, that's the big stuff. Those are the three big ones that we're asking council to adopt. There's lots of ancillary documents that are attached, like the school districts, capital facilities, and the fire districts and all that stuff. Those we
Okay.
don't really have any say in, but they're included in the packet.
So it's the two large documents, it's the land use code and then it's the comprehensive 10-year plan. All of that is gonna be what's gonna be turned in. So if you feel like you wanna go through all of it, you have these 2 weeks to call out anything you guys think.
Isn't this a 20-year plan?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm short term. So, yes. I understand. Wow, 20 years. Oh, and the comprehensive plan.
So we have a comprehensive plan. And we have a land.
Year and a half
development
we've
code.
been working on this and you still think it
Took a decade off, just like that. I'm terrible with this stuff.
So Rachel and I haven't talked to Rachel about this at all, but I did send her an invite to my GIS system.
I got into it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I did log in.
And I have elements of the map uploaded, but I haven't yet uploaded the entire map, which I can publish that. But the reason that we're not sharing that at this point is because it's still in development, so we're not,
Subject to
so,
change.
so we're not sure if those things are right, so. I can publish it out to a public website, but then everybody has access to it and they may misinterpret it, so we're trying to control. Who has access to the GIS files. I also had difficulty publishing the map too, so that's why it's not published for.
Did you save any binders? Binder giveaway?
We did save some binders.
So that's the reason I hesitated when you asked, can I access it in GIS? Yes, eventually.
They knew we'd still use it for something.
That product is actually part of our next project where we're gonna go back and reevaluate the some of the wetlands and other stuff, because we're working on a different grant now for commerce. So after we conclude this, we'll come back with another work plan and everything to kind of revisit the environmental elements in a slightly different way.
Okay.
And those too will result in some changes to comp plan, but those don't have to happen by the end of the year. Let's see. So I was just gonna put that map in there now. So the other thing I would like you all, if you can, either tonight or in the next 2 weeks, if it can happen tonight, then I can make those changes. But if you look at the land development code and the noticing provisions, if you know how you would like to change those signs, and I might suggest just a simple edit to your posting that requires a certain size of sign and doesn't require a certain size of letters. So if you say, that the public notices shall be posted on a 4x8 sign, and the content, you've got the content and everything, you don't change that. The only thing I would change about your noticing and posting is just right now you require a certain size of letter, which is.
Can't we just use the RCW from Lewis County and then it doesn't specify? It just says it has to be able to be seen from the road.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can just delete that whole section of your land development code that talks about content and all that stuff and just say you have to post a sign that provides the notice of, I think you want some minimum content on there. Like the time and place of the hearing and the proposed action.
It's the RCW.
Yeah, I think the RCW covers all that, doesn't it? It says the time and the place, and then it just says it has to be seen from the road. I think is what Lewis County,
Cause I
You-
think
you
at
can
one
do
point
that.
in time, we were trying to get rid
Yeah.
of the 4x8 signs.
Yeah, we were trying to get rid of the
2-inch letters.
2-inch letters because that required like an 8x8 sign.
Yeah.
That was huge.
And we talked about safety too, because people driving by don't need to be distracted by trying to read.
That's right.
Read the sign, they just need to see, oh, there's a public hearing on this, and that, or slow down and read it.
So is the part that just leaves it open, like readable from the road, is that what causes problems? Cause people then just begin, I
No,
can
it was
read
the
it.
2-inch lettering that caused the
Oh, it
problem.
says that.
Yeah, our
Okay.
code specifically states it has to be 2-inch lettering, and there's so many things that have to be on the sign. There has to be a time, a place, parcel numbers, address, all that. So then trying to take all of that and make 2-inch letters, like the Kurt Reddick one was ginormous. It was
I get
massive.
it
was,
now.
and it was like a $400 sign. It took,
Jeez.
yeah, and so we were trying to make it just a little smaller, but I think Cindy's looking up the RCW.
Yeah, so
Refer to the RCW.
Refer to the RCW and keep the minimal information small, so that.
if it's all in the RCW, then I'll just reference the RCW. And that'll be one of the additional changes that I'll bring back at the hearing.
Okay.
Is there anything else in the land development code that you remember that we wanted to clean up? That I've got a short list of other things, but they're more complicated and we didn't really have time to get through those in this process. We've talked about doing a batch of yearly updates to the zoning code, once a year. We kind of queue these things up and go through them all.
Yeah, hadn't we started accumulating a few of those by now?
Just a couple, but like I said, those were more complicated.
Yeah, and I know Sarah went there and cleaned up the park board in Trello, and I don't see anything in there anymore, so. I don't know if there was anything under like pending items. I'm sorry, planning. There was no.
Oh, that's right, we did have that list in Trello. We did have a
We
list.
did, yeah, okay, code cleanup was verifying the ordinance, adopting the land development code. did not repeal sections of city code that were updated.
Yep, I can fix that with the council ordinance, because we'll just repeal the entire subdivision ordinance out of the city code. You have duplicate codes still.
Yeah, if the city code was not amended or repealed in part, set up a PC meeting and present code modifications to clean up code. This would be a public hearing and would require notice.
Those in Trello.
Yeah, and then council would need to act on PC recommendation by ordinance to finalize the process. This would be a public hearing. It requires SEPA. I don't know why those are different cards.
That just sounds like an outline of the process.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The code, it's code cleanup.
So the code cleanup item that we had though was the noticing. And then the
Yeah.
other one was the one that you just said, so.
And I'm not able to find the RCW specifically what we're looking for.
And I just copied over the zoning map in that folder, so if you, to Rachel, okay, so Rachel now has that.
Yeah.
So for those of you with laptops, I can share the OneDrive folder, and those PDFs are higher resolution and you can zoom them. If you've got questions about any of the properties, specifically, like if it's not clear what it's zoned on a map and you want to know, then you can email Rachel or me. I can just click on it in my GIS system and then I can tell you, oh, that property, this is what it's zoned. So if there's a piece of property and you have the address or parcel number, or if you can somehow describe to me what it is. Because the PDFs are hard to read at that scale. I could have the print shop print out a bigger board of the zoning map too. And then just have them print that on a 4x8 sheet and you can put it up on the wall or have it here in City Hall or something. I can just mail it up to you.
That'd be great.
There's no.
I think that's gonna be the only real visual that we'll need for people.
If you want to capture, RCW 36.70B.110. That's the notice of that application.
Does it have everything?
It does, but it doesn't have any wording about being visible from the road.
Well, that's even better.
Put it at the back of the
So that,
building.
is that just the notice of public hearing? Notice of application. But that doesn't have any posting requirements?
Well, it does, it has the posting requirements. But and then methods of providing notice is, there's nothing about signs on the property.
So that would remove the requirement for signs on the property then?
Well, let's see.
Is that an important element?
Which
Actually,
RCW is it that we're looking at?
We are looking.
36.70B dot 110. Yeah.
And is that the notice of public hearing? Am I looking at, yeah, I'm looking at something else. Oh, I see, okay.
So methods of providing notice, posting the property. Publishing a notice in the newspaper, notifying interested public and private groups, notifying the media, placing notices in regional or neighborhood newspapers. Publishing in agencies' newsletters and mailing to neighboring property owners.
Are those all ors?
I don't know,
They're not inclusive?
I don't think so.
Well,
Nobody reads newspapers.
So we can just replace that section of our code with this, just reference that RCW, so we just take that whole thing out, but then it doesn't have specifics for. It just has generalities like placing notices in appropriate regional or neighborhood newspapers or things like that. It doesn't say.
Yeah, that's, we're sitting in a situation where we have a local so-called newspaper. And we have the Chronicle, which virtually, I mean, I don't know anybody who actually gets it. They may get it online. So how do the people that are downtown find out about anything?
Well, and this is the thing with noticing. One of the big areas where we have a responsibility to the public is to provide consistent notice and then to follow our noticing procedures. If our noticing procedures are general and somebody says, well, you didn't post that on my street, because it says in here, you got to post it in public places. My street's a public place. You didn't post my street. Well, now they have a valid challenge though, because our code referencing this generalized RCW. So I think we would want some specificity as to, we're gonna post it at City Hall, we'll post it on the city webpage, and our code says that now. So there are some good elements in our code. The only bad element in our code now for noticing is the size of the letters, so.
So now if we set a sign visible from the road, that could also be picked apart,
Right,
depending on.
so it's better if you
I can't
provide,
see that.
right.
The sign's visible for the road, but it's not legible for the
Right.
road.
So if you just say it has to be posted on an 8.5 by 11 poster board sign on the property, then that's fine, or 24 by 36 or 36 by 48. You can,
It's not related to this, but when the biosludge stuff blew up,
oh,
they were complaining that the notices were on 8.5 by 11 and posted on the fence.
Where, like, yeah, you can't
And
see.
they couldn't see anything.
What's that bigger size? It's not the legal, but it's the one bigger size. Is that what it is?
Well, there's.
11 by 17 is the sheet size that you can print.
Okay, so let's do that. The 11 by 17.
So, and if you're gonna do 11 by 17, then maybe to be posted at least 3 places along the public right of way of the site or something like that. So we,
Yeah, because our procedures are pretty easy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
300 feet, it's in there, they're consistent, my staff knows them.
and they're adapted to Toledo. They're things that
Right.
people expect. So adopting the RCW is a good thing, but reading the RCW, there's a lot of stuff in here that could be misinterpreted or not followed correctly by different staff members that might see this.
Toledo doesn't like change.
Yeah, so let's just, if I can recommend a simple change, let's just change the size of the sign. Rachel had suggested 11 by 17, which is bigger,
Yeah.
it's bigger than this sheet.
Yeah, it's,
This is legal, so it's the next size sheet up from that.
yeah, and we can print that here in the office. So,
I think I probably have an 11 by 17 sheet in here. Yep, here's one here. So. That
Yeah.
size sheet, so if you put that at 3 conspicuous places along the right of way.
That works.
And the size of the lettering won't be legible as you're passing by. You'll have to actually stop and look at it, but.
Which I'd prefer.
but we're
trying to get
also
a-
sending out the notices, we post it here, and I've been posting everything on Facebook as an extra, so.
Things that you do extra, that's an extra thing, and if it's not in your code, it's not required, so if you forget to do it, then it's no big deal.
I think that's pretty awesome though, because it starts giving visibility to like the right thing coming out of the city, and then the city ends up having the authority on what they're actually. This is what we actually did. Nobody has to tell you what we did. Like, so I like that idea.
What was the size again? It was 11 by
11 by
17.
17, yeah, cap load. Okay, so if there. And then the other change that we had in there. It's in the recording, so I'll pick that up. We'll go back to
Oh, send me that link. Where I was able to add the one the last time, and I can.
Oh, the link that Cindy just shared, you should be able to upload it to that too. But if not, let me know and I'll send you to.
I'll be in about 9. I'll have everything over.
Okay, you wanna move on to the other business of informational comp plan public hearing notice?
Yep. That's nothing. I just did a public hearing
That's
already.
it?
Yep. Yay, we're one step closer. Yay.
All right, public comment. Larry, I'm sure you
Larry.
waited long enough. Did you have something you wanted to?
No, I
Oh.
really don't. I'm, interested and want to listen, see what's going on. And I do appreciate the hard work and the the amount that goes into this. This is not the first time I've been involved with comprehensive plans and other things. So it is a significant amount of work, and you should be all commended for what's gone into this process. It takes a long time and a lot of serious consideration. And, you know, it's tough work. But you get
I guess we'll
through it.
see you in October, right?
Yeah, that I was gonna say, this is why this is why I said you couldn't be on tonight, because it's.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with whatever you want me to do.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
we'll get you in first
come in
thing.
in October and talk, that's fine, or
Yeah.
if you just want me to be quiet and
Nope.
October, that's fine.
We'll get you in on October, I promise.
So, you know, whatever, I'm flexible.
But if you wanna, can Larry can you, if there's things you wanna send in to us to look at before that meeting so that we're primed in some way? Maybe Rachel could forward that to us, I don't know.
It's just
Well-
on his website, if you go to the,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, I've got everything published on the website.
and I've seen the presentation, so I just wanted, I don't know if anybody else has seen it.
And I don't know what I would present at the October meeting, but, you know, it's out there, it's available, like I said, it's a proposal, so everybody knows what it is, and, you know, it can be used not at all, fully, or somewhere in between. It's ideas and suggestions.
What is the
Yeah.
So
website?
between Rachel and I, we'll send out.
The website or?
Wait, you guys-
Okay, that sounds good. The reason I mention is because it's our plan, as far as economic development, we don't really address any long-term. What are we gonna do with the expanding population? And the ideas, some of the parts of what Larry's talking about, I think correlate with that notion, and it would be useful for us to consider those.
We'll discuss this.
Yeah,
I guess it might be good for me, October, if other public questions that come up, that I could answer those.
yeah,
I guess would be the benefit there.
okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn. Go eat dinner.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.